The letter trembled in Eliza Calloway's hands as the stagecoach rattled over another bump in the rutted trail. September 1875 had brought an early autumn chill to the air, and she pulled her threadbare shawl tighter around her shoulders. 2 failed attempts at becoming a wife, 2 journeys back to New York in disgrace, and now this third desperate venture into the Western Territories had her stomach in knots. "Last stop before Silver Creek, folks," the driver called from above. "Just watering the horses, be on our way in 10 minutes. Eliza folded the letter from her latest potential husband, a cattle rancher named Mr. Howard, who had responded to her advertisement in the matrimonial news. His penmanship was neat, his words polite, but experience had taught her that words on paper often masked cruel realities. Her first intended, a shopkeeper in Missouri, had sent her back east when he discovered she couldn't bear children due to a childhood illness. The second, a banker in Kansas, had dismissed her when he deemed her too plain and bookish for his social aspirations. 23 years old and already twice rejected. Perhaps third time would be the charm, or perhaps she was destined for spinsterhood. With her parents gone and her inheritance dwindling, options were scarce. First time out west, miss. The elderly woman beside her smiled kindly, her face a topography of wrinkles that spoke of a life lived under the harsh prairie sun. "No, madam, third," Eliza replied softly, "though I pray it will be my last journey in this direction." The woman patted her hand sympathetically. "Takes courage to try again after disappointment. The West needs strong women like you." Strong wasn't how Eliza would describe herself. Desperate, perhaps. Determined, certainly. But as the stagecoach lurched forward again, continuing its journey toward her uncertain future, she straightened her back and gazed out at the passing landscape. If nothing else, she would face whatever awaited her with dignity. Silver Creek, Montana Territory appeared on the horizon just as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The small town seemed to materialize from the endless prairie, a cluster of wooden buildings, a church steeple, hitching posts lined with horses. Eliza's heart pounded as the stagecoach slowed. "Silver Creek Station," the driver announced. End of the line. No one waited for her as she descended from the coach. Mr. Howard had promised to meet her, but the only figures near the station were a group of cowboys lounging against a nearby fence and the station manager sorting mail. Clutching her single valise, Eliza approached the manager. "Excuse me, sir, I'm looking for Mr. Howard, Frederick Howard." "He was to meet me here today." The manager looked up, his expression shifting from disinterest to something like pity. "Howard, Fred Howard from the Circle H?" "Yes, that's him. Sorry to tell you this, miss, but Fred Howard passed 3 weeks back, trampled by his own bull." The blood drained from Eliza's face. "Passed, but I just received his letter last month. He sent for me as his bride. News travels slow out here. Very sorry, miss." The manager returned to his mail, matters settled in his mind. Eliza stood frozen, her future evaporating before her eyes. No husband, no home, no prospects, and barely enough money for a return ticket to New York. The familiar sensation of panic rose in her chest, constricting her breathing. "You all right there, miss?" A deep voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. She turned to find one of the cowboys regarding her with concern. Tall and broad-shouldered, his face was partially obscured by the shadow of his hat, but she could make out kind eyes and a strong jawline dusted with stubble. Unlike the others, who continued their lazy conversation, he'd straightened up and taken a step toward her. I'm fine, thank you," she managed, though the quiver in her voice betrayed her. "No disrespect intended, but you don't look fine." He removed his hat, revealing thick brown hair that curled slightly at the edges. "I couldn't help overhearing. You're Fred Howard's mail-order bride?" "I was to be," Eliza confirmed, a single tear escaping despite her best efforts. She brushed it away quickly. "Now I don't know what I'll do." The cowboy studied her for a long moment. "Name's Adam Lawson. I work at the Diamond L Ranch just outside town, My mother runs the boarding house here in Silver Creek. She might be able to help you get settled until you figure things out." I couldn't impose, it's no imposition. Ma takes in strays all the time. His lips curved in a warm smile. Human ones too, not just the four-legged variety. Despite everything, Eliza found herself returning his smile. "I'm Eliza Calloway." "Well, Miss Calloway, let me help you with that bag." Town's not big, but no sense in you wandering around lost. As Adam led her down the main street, Eliza took in her surroundings. Silver Creek was smaller than she'd imagined, but bustling with activity even as evening approached. The saloon was already alive with piano music and raucous laughter. Across the street, a general store was closing for the day, the proprietor sweeping dust from the wooden walkway. A few women in calico dresses hurried past, giving her curious glances. "It's not New York," Adam commented, noting her observation, "but we manage all right." "How did you know I'm from New York?" "Your accent. And those shoes aren't made for Western trails." He nodded toward her city boots, already coated with dust. The boarding house sat on a corner lot, a two-story structure painted a faded blue with white trim. Flower boxes hung beneath the windows, filled with hardy blooms that had survived the first frost. It looked welcoming, a rare sight of domesticity in the rugged town. "Ma," Adam called as they entered. "Got someone here who needs a room." Martha Lawson emerged from the kitchen, wiping flour-covered hands on her apron. She was a stout woman with the same kind eyes as her son, though hers were framed by gray-streaked hair pulled into a practical bun. "Adam Lawson, what have I told you about shouting in my house? I'm not deaf yet." Her gaze shifted to Eliza, immediately taking in her travel-worn appearance and red-rimmed eyes. "Oh, you poor dear. Come in, come in." Before Eliza could properly introduce herself, she found herself seated at the kitchen table with a cup of hot tea and a warm biscuit placed before her. Adam briefly explained her situation while Martha clucked sympathetically. "Frederick Howard always did have terrible timing," Martha said, shaking her head. "But his misfortune needn't be yours, dear. You're welcome to stay here as long as needed." "I can't pay much," Eliza admitted. "And I'll need to find work right away. We'll sort that out tomorrow. Tonight you rest." Martha shot a pointed look at her son. "Adam, take Miss Calloway's bag up to the blue room, then make yourself useful and fetch some more firewood. It's getting chilly." Adam complied with a good-natured salute. "Yes, madam." As he left, Martha leaned in conspiratorially. "My son has many virtues, but being tidy isn't one of them. Best cowhand in the territory, though, foreman at the Diamond L despite being only 28. "He's been very kind," Eliza said softly. "That he is. Too kind sometimes for his own good." Martha refilled Eliza's teacup. "Now tell me about yourself, dear. What brings a fine young woman like you out west to marry a man you've never met?" The genuine concern in Martha's voice broke through Eliza's carefully constructed defenses. Before she knew it, she was telling this stranger everything: her parents' deaths from influenza 3 years prior, the discovery that her father's business partner had embezzled most of their fortune, her first 2 failed attempts at becoming a mail-order bride. "Both times I was sent back like damaged goods," she concluded, tears finally spilling freely. "I don't have family to return to anymore. This was my last chance." Martha reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "The Lord doesn't close a door without opening a window, dear. Perhaps there's a reason you ended up in Silver Creek instead of at Fred Howard's ranch." Adam returned with an armload of firewood, pausing in the doorway when he saw Eliza's tears. He deposited the wood by the stove and cleared his throat awkwardly. "I should head back to the ranch. Boss will be wondering where I disappeared to." He settled his hat back on his head. "Miss Calloway, I hope you find Silver Creek to your liking. Thank you for your help, Mr. Lawson." "Adam," he corrected with a smile, "folks out here don't stand on ceremony much." "Then you must call me Eliza." He nodded, his eyes lingering on her face a moment longer than necessary. "I'll check in tomorrow, Ma. Make sure you're not working this young lady too hard." After he left, Martha showed Eliza to a small but clean bedroom upstairs. The blue quilt on the bed looked invitingly soft, and a pitcher of water sat on the washstand beside a porcelain basin. "Rest well, dear," Martha said. "Things always look brighter in the morning." Alone at last, Eliza sank onto the bed and finally allowed herself to cry properly. Not just for today's disappointment, but for all of it, the losses, the rejections, the uncertainty. When no more tears would come, she washed her face in the cool water, changed into her nightgown and climbed beneath the quilt. Despite her exhaustion, sleep eluded her. Through the open window came the unfamiliar sounds of a frontier town settling for the night, distant piano music, the occasional shout, the whicker of horses. So different from New York's constant cacophony. And somewhere out there was Adam Lawson, riding back to his ranch under the vast Montana sky. For the first time since receiving the news of Mr. Howard's death, Eliza felt something other than despair. It was a tiny spark, barely perceptible but unmistakable hope. Morning brought the smell of coffee and bacon wafting up the stairs. Eliza dressed quickly in her second-best dress, a navy blue cotton with white piping that had seen better days but was still presentable. She pinned her light brown hair into a simple chignon and pinched her pale cheeks for color before descending to the kitchen. The boarding house dining room contained 3 tables, only one of which was occupied. A middle-aged couple nodded politely as Martha ushered Eliza to an empty seat. "Sleep well?" Martha asked, pouring coffee into a waiting cup. "Better than expected, thank you." "Good, eat up now." "We've got a busy day ahead." Martha placed a plate before her, piled with eggs, bacon, and biscuits. "I've been thinking about your situation, and I believe I have a solution." Eliza took a cautious sip of coffee. "Oh." "The school teacher, Miss Perkins, is getting married next month and moving to Helena. The town needs a replacement. A school teacher, but I'm not qualified. Nonsense. You're educated, aren't you? Can read and write and cipher?" "Well, yes. My father believed in education for women. I attended the young ladies' seminary in Albany until I was 18. That's more schooling than anyone else in town has had. The children need someone, and the town council is desperate." Martha sat down across from her. "It comes with a small salary and living quarters above the schoolhouse. Not luxurious, mind you, but your own space." Eliza's mind raced. She'd never considered teaching as a profession, but she had always loved books and learning. Perhaps this was the window Martha had spoken of last night. "I would need to meet with this town council," she said cautiously. "They gather at the mayor's office every Tuesday. That's tomorrow." Martha smiled triumphantly. "I'll speak to Mayor Bennett today. He takes his meals here sometimes. You're being so kind. Why would you help a stranger this way?" Martha's expression softened. "When I came west with my late husband 30 years ago, someone helped me too. That's how we survive out here, by looking after each other." She stood and straightened her apron. "Now finish your breakfast. I need to show you around town, and then we have work to do." "Work?" "Those dresses of yours need mending, and you'll need something appropriate for meeting the council tomorrow. First impressions matter." The tour of Silver Creek took less than an hour. Beyond the main street with its essential businesses, general store, bank, telegraph office, saloon, blacksmith, and doctor's office, there were several side streets of modest homes. The schoolhouse stood at the edge of town, a simple one-room building with a bell tower. 12 students at present," Martha explained as they peered through the windows. "Ages 6 to 16. The older ones come only in winter when they're not needed for ranch work." The quarters above were indeed small, just a bedroom, sitting area, and tiny kitchen, but clean and private. Eliza could envision herself there, preparing lessons in the evenings, marking papers by lamplight. It wasn't the life she'd imagined, but perhaps it could be a good one. They returned to the boarding house to find Adam waiting, hat in hand, talking with a bald man Martha introduced as Mayor Bennett. The mayor's bushy mustache twitched as he assessed Eliza. "Martha tells me you might be our answer to a pressing problem, Miss Calloway," he said after introductions were made. "Our children need education." I would be honored to be considered, sir, though I must admit I have no formal teaching experience. Can you handle a roomful of rambunctious youngsters? Some of them haven't had much discipline. Eliza thought of her younger cousins whom she'd often corralled during family gatherings. I believe I can manage, sir. And you're not squeamish about harsh winters. Once the snow comes, you might be isolated for days. I'm willing to learn what I need to survive here. The mayor nodded approvingly. We'll make it official at tomorrow's council meeting, 4 o'clock sharp. After he left, Adam smiled at Eliza. Looks like you'll be staying in Silver Creek after all. It seems so. She returned his smile, surprised at how pleased she felt by this development. Your mother has been incredibly helpful. Ma has a habit of rearranging people's lives for the better, he said with affection. I brought something for you. He held out a package wrapped in brown paper. Just some books from our ranch library, thought they might help you prepare for tomorrow. Eliza unwrapped the package to find 3 well-worn textbooks, a primer, a mathematics text, and moral lessons for young minds. These are perfect, she said, genuinely touched by his thoughtfulness. Thank you. I remember my school days. Teacher had her hands full with me and the other boys. We weren't exactly model students. Were you very naughty, Mr. Lawson? The words slipped out before she could reconsider their impropriety, and she blushed fiercely. To her relief, Adam laughed. Let's just say I was more interested in horses than history, but I turned out all right in the end. That you did, Martha interjected, returning from the kitchen. Though it took plenty of switching to get you there. Ma, now it was Adam's turn to look embarrassed. Martha ignored his protest. Will you stay for lunch, son? Can't today. Boss needs me to help move cattle to the north pasture before the weather turns. He settled his hat back on his head. But I'll be at the council meeting tomorrow for moral support. After he left, Martha turned to Eliza with a knowing smile. My son doesn't usually take such an interest in town affairs. He's been very kind, Eliza said neutrally, though she couldn't deny the flutter in her stomach at the thought of seeing him again. Hum, was Martha's only reply as she returned to the kitchen. The rest of the day passed in a flurry of activity. Martha helped Eliza mend the worst tears in her clothing and loaned her a shawl for the council meeting. By evening, Eliza felt cautiously optimistic about her prospects in Silver Creek. It wasn't what she'd planned, but perhaps it was what she needed. The town council meeting the following afternoon was held in the back room of the mayor's office. 5 men sat at a long table, regarding Eliza with expressions ranging from skepticism to curiosity as she presented her qualifications. Adam stood quietly in the corner, his presence giving her confidence. Miss Calloway, said a gruff man introduced as Samuel Wilson, the general store owner, teaching isn't just about book learning. These are frontier children. They need practical education. I understand, sir. I would incorporate practical skills alongside traditional subjects. Girls should learn household management, boys should understand basic agriculture and business principles. Another councilman leaned forward. What about discipline? Some of these youngsters are rough around the edges. I believe in firm but fair discipline, sir. Children need clear boundaries and consistent consequences. The questioning continued for nearly an hour. Finally, Mayor Bennett called for a vote. To Eliza's relief, it was unanimous in her favor. Congratulations, Miss Calloway, the mayor said, extending his hand. School begins next Monday. Salary is $40 per month, paid at the end of each month. The community provides firewood and basic supplies. It wasn't much, but it would allow her to support herself. Eliza shook each councilman's hand, feeling a strange mixture of terror and exhilaration. She had a position, a purpose, a place in this community. Adam approached as the council members dispersed. Congratulations, schoolmarm, he said with a teasing smile. I think you impressed them. I hope I can live up to their expectations. You'll do fine. The children will love you. His expression turned more serious. Listen, some of the ranch hands and I are riding into town Saturday night for the harvest dance at the community hall. Would you consider attending as my guest? Her heart skipped. A dance? Nothing fancy, just fiddle music and simple steps, but it's a good way to meet folks. His confidence seemed to falter slightly. Unless you'd rather not, I'd be delighted, she said quickly, though I'm afraid I don't have anything suitable to wear. You'll outshine everyone no matter what you wear. The compliment came so naturally that Adam looked almost surprised at his own words. I'll call for you at 7 if that's agreeable. Very agreeable, she replied softly. As they walked back to the boarding house, Eliza felt lighter than she had in months. The afternoon sun bathed the town in golden light, and for the first time, Silver Creek didn't seem like a place of last resort, but a place of possibility. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of preparation. Eliza visited the schoolhouse daily, cleaning and organizing books and supplies. Several mothers brought their children to meet her, eager to assess this Easterner who would be teaching their precious offspring. To Eliza's relief, most seemed satisfied with what they found. Martha, meanwhile, had taken Eliza's social debut at the harvest dance as a personal mission. She insisted on altering one of her own dresses for the occasion, a forest green cotton with lace trim that brought out the gold flecks in Eliza's hazel eyes. You need to make a good impression, Martha said as she pinned the waist. Not just as the new teacher, but as a young woman of quality. I'm not looking for another husband, Eliza protested, though her thoughts kept drifting to Adam's smile. Of course not, dear. But there's no harm in looking your best. Martha's knowing expression suggested she wasn't fooled. My son certainly noticed you already. He's just being neighborly. Adam has been neighborly to plenty of young ladies passing through. I've never seen him bring books to any of them. Martha stepped back to assess her handiwork. There, that should do nicely. Saturday evening arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze. Eliza stood before the small mirror in her room, barely recognizing herself in the green dress. Martha had helped arrange her hair in a more flattering style, with soft curls framing her face and a ribbon matching her dress woven through the braided crown. You look lovely, Martha pronounced when Eliza descended the stairs. Simple and elegant, just right for a country dance. A knock at the door announced Adam's arrival. He stood on the porch in clean denims, a pressed white shirt, and a black vest. His usually tousled hair was neatly combed, and he'd clearly shaved for the occasion. Miss Calloway, he said, his voice catching slightly as he took in her appearance. You look beautiful. Thank you. She accepted his offered arm, noticing the clean, soapy scent of him beneath the leather of his jacket. You're quite handsome yourself. Martha watched them from the doorway with undisguised satisfaction. Don't keep her out too late, Adam. Remember, she has responsibilities now. Yes, Ma, he replied with a dutiful nod, though he winked at Eliza as they turned away. The community hall was already crowded when they arrived. Lanterns hung from the rafters, casting a warm glow over the wooden floor cleared for dancing. At one end, 3 musicians, a fiddler, a banjo player, and an accordionist were tuning their instruments. Tables along the walls held platters of food and punch bowls. Everyone's here tonight, Adam explained as they entered. Ranchers, townsfolk, even some of the miners from the hills. Harvest dance is a big event. Heads turned as Adam led Eliza through the room. She felt the weight of curious stares but drew strength from his steady presence beside her. He introduced her to so many people that the names became a blur. Ranch hands from the Diamond L, shopkeepers and their wives, farmers from outlying homesteads. And this, Adam said, approaching an elegant older woman in a burgundy dress, is Mrs. Eleanor Thornton, the banker's widow and unofficial queen of Silver Creek society. Mrs. Thornton assessed Eliza with sharp eyes. So you're the young lady taking over the school from New York, I understand. Yes, madam. My late husband was from Boston. I remember how difficult my adjustment to Western life was. Her expression softened slightly. If you need anything, my dear, don't hesitate to ask. We must maintain certain standards even on the frontier. Thank you, Mrs. Thornton. That's very kind. As they moved away, Adam leaned close to whisper, "You've passed inspection. Mrs. Thornton's approval means you're officially accepted in Silver Creek. Is her opinion so important? Let's just say life is easier with her as an ally than an enemy." His eyes crinkled with amusement. She also happens to be on the school board. The music began, a lively reel that had couples quickly forming sets on the dance floor. Adam held out his hand. "May I have this dance, Miss Calloway? I'm afraid I don't know the steps," she admitted. "Just follow my lead. It's simpler than it looks." He was right. The dance was straightforward once she caught the rhythm, and Adam was a patient partner, guiding her through the figures with a firm but gentle hand at her waist. By the second dance, a Virginia reel, she was laughing as they spun and circled with the other couples. During a break in the music, Adam fetched them cups of punch and led her to a quieter corner. "You're a natural," he said. "No one would guess you're a city girl. I had an excellent teacher." She sipped her punch, feeling pleasantly warm from the exercise and his proximity. "Everyone has been so welcoming. It's not what I expected." "What did you expect? I'm not sure, after my previous experiences." She trailed off, not wanting to revisit those painful memories tonight. Adam studied her face. "Those men who sent you back were fools." The simple statement, delivered with such conviction, touched her deeply. "Thank you for saying that. It's just the truth." He set down his empty cup. "Come on, there's someone else you should meet." He led her outside to where an elderly man sat on a bench, observing the festivities through the open door. Despite the cool evening, he wore only a light jacket over his shirt and trousers. His weathered face broke into a smile as they approached. "Evening, Mr. Lawson. Who's this pretty lady?" "Mr. Jenkins, this is Miss Eliza Calloway, our new schoolteacher." "Eliza, this is Ezekiel Jenkins. He built half the buildings in Silver Creek, including your schoolhouse." The old man extended a gnarled hand. "Pleased to meet you, miss. Don't mind me sitting out here. These old bones don't dance anymore, but I like watching the young folks enjoy themselves." "Mr. Jenkins knows more about Silver Creek history than anyone," Adam explained. "He came here when it was nothing but a trading post." "Is that so?" Eliza sat beside the old man, genuinely interested. "I'd love to hear about it sometime. Perhaps you could visit the school and tell the children about the early days," Jenkins beamed. "I'd be honored, miss. Got plenty of stories that need telling before they're forgotten." They chatted a while longer before the music drew them back inside. The evening passed in a pleasant blur of dancing, conversation, and laughter. Adam rarely left Eliza's side, except to fetch refreshments or when duty required him to dance with some of the older ladies. As midnight approached, the musicians struck up a waltz. Adam's hand found Eliza's waist, drawing her closer than the previous dances had allowed. "I hope this isn't too forward," he said quietly as they began to move in time with the music. "Not at all." She was acutely aware of his nearness, the warmth of his hand against hers, the way his eyes never left her face. "I've had a wonderful evening, so have I." There was something in his voice, a depth of feeling that made her heart quicken. "Eliza, I know you've only been in Silver Creek a short time, but I'd like to call on you properly. If you're amenable." The question took her by surprise, though perhaps it shouldn't have. "You mean courting?" "That's exactly what I mean." His expression was earnest, almost vulnerable. "I understand if it's too soon or if you're not interested. I am interested," she interrupted softly. "Very much so." The smile that lit his face was radiant. "Good, that's good." The waltz ended too soon, and the musicians announced the final dance of the evening. As they joined the circle forming on the floor, Eliza caught Martha watching them from across the room, her expression one of quiet satisfaction. Later, as they walked back to the boarding house under a canopy of stars, Adam kept Eliza's hand tucked in the crook of his arm. The night had turned cool and he'd draped his jacket over her shoulders despite her protests. "Thank you for tonight," she said as they reached the porch. "I can't remember when I've enjoyed myself more. The pleasure was mine." He hesitated, then reached out to tuck a stray curl behind her ear. "May I call on you tomorrow? Perhaps we could ride out to the schoolhouse. I could help you set up some of the heavier furniture. I'd like that. In the silvery moonlight, his features were softened, almost boyish in their openness. Good night, Eliza. Good night, Adam. He didn't try to kiss her, merely tipped his hat and waited until she was safely inside before turning to leave. Eliza watched through the window as he walked away, his stride confident even in the darkness. Martha appeared beside her, a knowing smile on her face. I take it the evening went well. Very well, Eliza confirmed, unable to keep the happiness from her voice. Adam has asked to court me. Did he now? My son doesn't waste time when he knows what he wants. Martha patted her arm. I'm glad, dear, you both deserve happiness. That night, as Eliza prepared for bed, she realized something remarkable for the first time since arriving in Silver Creek. She hadn't once thought of herself as a rejected mail-order bride. Instead, she felt like a woman with a future, one that suddenly seemed full of promise. Monday morning dawned clear and crisp, the perfect day for beginning a new chapter. Eliza arrived at the schoolhouse an hour early, wanting to ensure everything was ready for her students. Adam had been true to his word, spending Sunday afternoon helping her arrange desks and hang a new American flag at the front of the room. They'd worked companionably, pausing occasionally for quiet conversation or shared smiles that spoke volumes. Now, as she stood at the teacher's desk arranging her books and papers, she felt a curious blend of nervousness and anticipation. A soft knock at the door announced her first arrival, a small girl with blonde braids and solemn blue eyes, clutching a slate and primer. Good morning, Eliza greeted her warmly. You're nice and early. Mama says punctuality is a virtue, the child replied seriously. I'm Sarah Miller, I'm 8. I'm very pleased to meet you, Sarah. I'm Miss Calloway. Sarah studied her with unabashed curiosity. Are you really from New York City? Mama says it's bigger than the whole territory. It is quite large, Eliza confirmed, but I think I'm going to like Silver Creek much better. More children arrived in quick succession, brothers and sisters in family groups, farm boys with sun-browned faces, a pair of identical twin girls who giggled behind their hands when introduced. By 9 o'clock, all 12 students were seated, ranging from tiny 6-year-old Tommy Evans to lanky 16-year-old James Wilson, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Good morning, children, Eliza began, masking her nervousness with a confident smile. I'm Miss Calloway, and I'm honored to be your new teacher. The morning passed more smoothly than she'd dared hope. After assessing each child's level, she organized them into groups for reading and arithmetic. The younger ones practiced their letters while the older students worked on geography and history. James Wilson, despite his initial reluctance, proved to have a quick mind for mathematics. At noon, the children ate their packed lunches in the schoolyard while Eliza prepared the afternoon lessons. She was arranging slates when a shadow fell across the doorway. How's the first day going, schoolmarm? Adam leaned against the doorframe, hat in hand. Wonderfully, she replied, unable to keep the enthusiasm from her voice. They're bright children eager to learn. They're lucky to have you. He entered, setting a cloth-wrapped package on her desk. Ma sent lunch, figured you might forget to eat. The thoughtful gesture touched her. She was right, thank you. I can't stay, got to get back to the ranch, but I wanted to see how you were settling in. His gaze traveled around the classroom, noting the neat rows of desks and colorful maps she'd hung on the walls. You've already transformed the place. It felt important to create a proper learning environment. She unwrapped the lunch bread, cheese, and an apple, suddenly realizing how hungry she was. Will I see you soon? Count on it. He smiled, that warm smile that seemed reserved just for her. Sunday dinner at Ma's. She's invited the pastor and his wife and specifically requested your presence. I'd be delighted. After he left, Eliza found herself humming as she called the children back from their play. The afternoon lessons in penmanship and natural science passed quickly, and before she knew it, she was ringing the bell to signal the end of the school day. Well done, everyone, she said as they gathered their things. "I'll see you all tomorrow. Please remember to practice your reading." As the children filed out, Sarah Miller lingered behind. "Miss Calloway, I think you're the prettiest teacher we've ever had." Eliza laughed, genuinely delighted by the child's candor. "Thank you, Sarah, that's very kind. My brother says Mr. Lawson thinks so too. He saw him looking at you at the dance." With that bombshell delivered, Sarah skipped away, leaving Eliza blushing furiously. The weeks that followed fell into a pleasant rhythm. Weekdays were devoted to teaching, with evenings spent planning lessons and grading papers in her small quarters above the schoolhouse. On Wednesdays, she took tea with Mrs. Thornton and several other prominent ladies of Silver Creek, gradually being accepted into their circle. Saturdays often found her helping Martha at the boarding house or exploring the town and its surroundings, and Sundays were for Adam. He escorted her to church each week, where they sat with Martha in the third pew. Afterward, they would have dinner with Martha or sometimes picnic by the creek if the weather permitted. Those quiet hours together were precious, as they learned each other's stories, hopes, and dreams. Adam told her about growing up on his father's small ranch, about losing him to pneumonia when Adam was 16, about working his way up from ranch hand to foreman at the Diamond L. Eliza shared memories of her parents, her education, her brief experience in New York society before financial disaster struck. "I never told anyone about my 2 failed attempts at becoming a mail-order bride," she confessed one Sunday as they sat beneath a cottonwood tree near the creek. "I was too ashamed." "You have nothing to be ashamed of," Adam replied, his hand finding hers. "Those men didn't deserve you. At the time, I thought something was wrong with me, that I was defective somehow." She stared at the water rippling over stones. "The first man in Missouri sent me back when he learned I couldn't have children. The second simply decided I wasn't pretty or accomplished enough for his social aspirations." Adam's jaw tightened. "If I ever meet either of them, they'll regret their cruelty. It doesn't matter anymore." She turned to face him, finding strength in his unwavering gaze. "I'm glad things happened as they did. Otherwise, I might never have come to Silver Creek, never met you." The kiss, when it finally came, was gentle and tentative at first, as if he feared she might break. But when she responded with unexpected fervor, his arms encircled her, drawing her closer as the kiss deepened into something that left them both breathless. "I've wanted to do that since the harvest dance," he admitted when they finally parted. "I've wanted you to," she replied, smiling up at him. October gave way to November, bringing the first significant snowfall and the excitement of Thanksgiving preparations. The schoolchildren presented a pageant for the community, retelling the story of the Pilgrims with endearing enthusiasm, if not complete historical accuracy. Adam sat in the front row, his proud smile making Eliza's heart flutter every time their eyes met. As winter settled over Silver Creek, the community gathered closer. Evening socials at the church, quilting bees at various homes, and community suppers provided opportunities to gather despite the cold. Adam was a constant presence at Eliza's side, his courtship now common knowledge and generally approved by the townsfolk. "He's never been this serious about anyone," Martha confided one evening as they prepared for the Christmas social. "I've never seen him happier." "He makes me happy too," Eliza admitted, adjusting the red ribbon in her hair. "Happier than I ever thought possible." "I know that look," Martha said, studying her with motherly perception. "You're in love with my son. There was no point denying it." "Yes, very much so." "Have you told him?" "Not in so many words. It seems too soon." Martha smiled. "The heart knows what it knows, dear." There's no timetable for love. The Christmas social at the church was a festive affair. Pine boughs decorated the simple sanctuary, filling the air with their fresh scent. Candles glowed in the windows, and a small tree stood in the corner, adorned with paper chains and ornaments made by the schoolchildren. Adam arrived to escort Eliza wearing a new shirt and string tie, his usually tousled hair neatly combed. "You look beautiful," he said, taking in her red dress another of Martha's alterations, this one more extensive with added lace at the collar and cuffs. "Thank you. You're quite dashing yourself." Inside, the celebration was already underway. The children sang carols, punch and cookies were served, and small gifts were exchanged. Eliza had spent evenings knitting scarves for each of her students, using yarn purchased with her first month's salary. Near the end of the evening, Mayor Bennett called for attention. "Before we conclude our festivities, I'd like to acknowledge the wonderful addition to our community. Miss Calloway, in just a few short months, you've transformed our school and won the hearts of our children and at least one of our cowboys." This brought appreciative laughter from the crowd. "On behalf of the town council, please accept this small token of our appreciation." He presented her with a leather-bound edition of Shakespeare's complete works. Eliza accepted it with genuine gratitude, blinking back tears at this unexpected recognition. As the gathering dispersed into the snowy night, Adam helped Eliza into her coat and led her outside. Instead of turning toward the schoolhouse, however, he guided her toward the boarding house. "I have something for you," he explained. "A Christmas gift." In the parlor, decorated with Martha's holiday finery, he handed her a small package wrapped in brown paper and tied with red string. "It's not much," he said almost shyly. Eliza unwrapped it carefully to reveal a small wooden box, intricately carved with a pattern of wildflowers. Inside, nestled on a bed of cotton, lay a silver pendant shaped like a book, suspended on a delicate chain. "Oh, Adam," she breathed, lifting it to examine the detailed engraving. "It's beautiful. Open it." The tiny book was actually a locket. Inside, Adam had placed a pressed flower, a prairie rose. "I found it the day after you arrived in Silver Creek," he explained. "It was the last bloom of the season, made me think of you, beautiful and strong, blooming despite difficult circumstances." Tears filled her eyes at the sentiment behind the gift. "I love it. Will you help me put it on?" His fingers brushed the nape of her neck as he fastened the clasp, sending a pleasant shiver down her spine. When she turned to face him, his expression was serious, almost solemn. "Eliza, I know we haven't known each other long, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life." He took her hands in his. "I love you. I think I've loved you since that first day at the stagecoach station." Joy burst within her like sunrise. "I love you too, Adam, so much." He kissed her then, a kiss full of promise and longing and future possibilities. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers. "I don't have much to offer yet. I'm saving to buy my own land, but it might take another year or two." "I don't need land or riches," she assured him. "Just you." "Even so, I want to do this properly." He stepped back and, to her astonishment, lowered himself to one knee. "Eliza Calloway, will you marry me? Will you build a life with me here in Silver Creek?" "Yes," she answered without hesitation. "Yes, with all my heart." From his pocket, he produced a simple gold band. "It was my grandmother's," he explained as he slipped it onto her finger. "Ma gave it to me last week, said she knew I'd be needing it soon." Eliza laughed through her tears. "Your mother is a very perceptive woman. That she is." He rose and gathered her into his arms again. "I promise you'll never be sent back, Eliza. You're home now. Forever." As the snow fell softly outside, blanketing Silver Creek in pristine white, Eliza knew he spoke the truth. After years of uncertainty and rejection, she had found not just a place to belong, but a man who treasured her exactly as she was. The gold band on her finger caught the lamplight, a tangible symbol of promises kept and a future secured. The news of their engagement spread quickly through Silver Creek. To Eliza's delight, the community's response was overwhelmingly positive. Her students were particularly excited, the girls peppering her with questions about her wedding dress, and the boys solemnly congratulating Mr. Lawson when he came to escort her home after school. June would be a lovely month for a wedding, Martha suggested as they sat around the boarding house table discussing plans. "The wildflowers will be in bloom, and the weather should be fine for an outdoor celebration." "June sounds perfect," Eliza agreed, glancing at Adam for confirmation. He nodded, his thumb absently stroking the back of her hand where it rested on the table. "Gives me time to finish the house." This was news to Eliza. "House? What house?" Adam looked sheepish. "I was going to surprise you. I've been buying lumber and supplies since November. Started building on that plot of land just north of town, near the creek." "You've been building us a house all this time?" Eliza was stunned. "How did I not know about this? The men at the Diamond L have been helping when they can, and I only work on it Saturdays when you're busy with Ma." His expression was both proud and slightly anxious. "I wanted our first home to be something special, something I built with my own hands." Tears pricked at Eliza's eyes. "Can I see it? It's not much yet, just the foundation and frame, but I'd be proud to show you." The following Saturday, despite the January cold, Adam borrowed a sleigh and drove Eliza to their future home. The structure stood on a gentle rise overlooking Silver Creek, sheltered by cottonwood trees that would provide shade in summer. Though only partially built, Eliza could already envision the finished house, a sturdy two-story dwelling with a front porch and plenty of windows to catch the morning light. "It's wonderful," she said, walking carefully through what would become their parlor. "How did you manage this while working full-time at the ranch?" "Been putting in extra hours," Adam admitted. "Boss gave me Saturdays off when I told him why, said he'd been wondering when I'd finally settle down. And this will be ready by June, if the weather cooperates." The men promised to help with the roof once the walls are up. He guided her through the rough outline of rooms. Parlor here, kitchen and dining area there, 2 bedrooms upstairs with space for more if needed. He colored slightly at the implication. Eliza squeezed his hand. "It's perfect, Adam." "Absolutely perfect." Winter passed slowly, as Montana winters do, with occasional blizzards that closed the school for days at a time. During one particularly fierce storm in February, Eliza found herself stranded at the boarding house, the roads too treacherous for her to return to her quarters above the schoolhouse. Martha seemed delighted by this development, especially when Adam appeared at the door, snow-covered and half-frozen after riding in from the ranch to check on them. "Didn't think you'd make it through that weather," Martha scolded as she helped him out of his ice-crusted coat. "Wouldn't miss Sunday dinner," he replied with a wink at Eliza. "Besides, needed to make sure my girls were safe." The casual way he included Eliza in his family warmed her more than the blazing fire in the hearth. That evening, as the wind howled outside, they sat in the parlor while Martha dozed in her rocking chair. Adam had his arm around Eliza, her head resting on his shoulder as they watched the flames dance in the fireplace. "Sometimes I can hardly believe this is real," Eliza murmured. "That I found you, that we're building a life together." "Believe it," he replied, pressing a kiss to her temple. "You'll never be alone again." As winter gradually released its grip on the land, progress on the house accelerated. By April, the structure was fully framed, the roof in place, and the exterior walls nearly completed. Eliza visited whenever possible, watching with pride as their home took shape. Sometimes she brought picnic lunches for Adam and whoever was helping that day, earning appreciative thanks from the hungry men. School continued to flourish under her guidance. The town council, pleased with her success, voted to purchase new books and supplies for the following year. When Eliza tentatively inquired about continuing her position after marriage, Mayor Bennett seemed surprised by the question. "Of course we want you to stay on, Mrs. Lawson to be," he assured her. "Good teachers are hard to find. As long as you're willing and able, the position is yours." With that worry resolved, Eliza threw herself into wedding preparations with Martha's enthusiastic assistance. Her modest savings went toward fabric for a new dress, cream-colored cotton with lace trim that Martha helped her sew in the evenings. News of the upcoming nuptials prompted gifts from townsfolk. A patchwork quilt from the ladies' sewing circle, kitchen implements from the general store, a set of leather-bound books from Mrs. Thornton. "Never seen the town so excited about a wedding," Martha commented as they sorted through the growing collection of gifts. You've made quite an impression in a short time. Silver Creek has been so welcoming, Eliza replied. It feels like home now in a way New York never did. That's because it is home, dear. You belong here. May brought warm winds and the first wildflowers dotting the prairie. The house progressed rapidly, with interior walls erected and windows installed. Adam worked every spare moment, determined to have it ready by their June wedding date. One Friday afternoon, as school was dismissing, Eliza was surprised to see Adam waiting outside instead of at the ranch where he should have been working. "Is everything all right?" she asked as the last children scattered toward home. "Everything's fine." His smile was mysteriously satisfied. "I have something to show you." He led her to the house, where a small gathering had assembled. Martha, Mayor Bennett, the ranch foreman, and several of the men who had helped with construction. "What's happening?" Eliza asked, confused by their presence. "It's finished," Adam announced proudly. "The house is ready." Indeed, what had been a skeletal structure just months ago was now a complete home. The exterior was painted a warm yellow with white trim, a picket fence enclosed the front yard, and flower boxes hung beneath the windows, ready for planting. "But how?" Eliza gasped. "I thought it wouldn't be done until late June. Everyone pitched in extra time," the ranch foreman explained. "Adam's been a good friend to all of us, wanted to help him surprise his bride." Inside, the transformation was even more remarkable. Simple but sturdy furniture filled the rooms, some newly purchased, some contributed by friends, and some crafted by Adam himself. The parlor featured a comfortable settee and chairs arranged before a stone fireplace. The kitchen contained a gleaming new stove, shelves for dishes, and a pine table with 4 chairs. Upstairs, the master bedroom held a large bed with a carved headboard, a wardrobe, and a dressing table with mirror. The second bedroom remained unfurnished but freshly painted, ready for future use. "It's magnificent," Eliza breathed, tears streaming down her face as she moved from room to room. "I can't believe you did all this." "With plenty of help," Adam reminded her, putting an arm around her shoulders. "What do you think? Is it everything you hoped for?" "It's more than I ever dared hope for." She turned to the assembled friends. "Thank you all. I'm overwhelmed by your kindness." After the others departed, Adam led Eliza to the front porch where 2 rocking chairs waited side by side, overlooking the creek and the town beyond. They sat together as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. "We could move the wedding up," Adam suggested, taking her hand. "No reason to wait until June now that the house is ready." "Martha would never forgive us," Eliza laughed. "She's been planning this event for months." "True enough," he smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners in that way she loved. 4 more weeks, then. 4 weeks, she agreed, leaning her head on his shoulder. "And a lifetime after that." The day before the wedding dawned clear and bright, a perfect Montana June morning. Following tradition, Adam had moved temporarily back to the boarding house, leaving Eliza to spend her last night as a single woman in their new home with Martha as chaperone. "Everything's ready," Martha assured her as they enjoyed breakfast on the front porch. "Pastors prepared, flowers arranged, food organized. All you need to do is show up looking beautiful." "I can manage that part," Eliza promised, though butterflies danced in her stomach at the thought of tomorrow's ceremony. A commotion in the distance caught their attention, a cloud of dust approaching from the direction of town. As it drew nearer, they could make out a single rider pushing his horse hard. "That's young Tommy from the telegraph office," Martha said, squinting against the sun. "Wonder what's got him in such a hurry." The boy reined his horse to a stop at their gate, waving a yellow paper. "Miss Calloway." "Message for you from New York." Eliza's heart skipped. No one in New York knew her whereabouts except the matrimonial agency that had arranged her ill-fated matches. She accepted the telegram with trepidation, breaking the seal with trembling fingers. "Located you through agency. Stop Uncle James passed, leaving you sole heir. Stop inheritance. Substantial stop. Please contact Johnson and Williams attorneys, New York. Immediately. Stop Uncle James," she whispered. Her father's eccentric brother who had disappeared to South America years ago to seek his fortune in mining. The uncle she'd been told was penniless and possibly dead. Bad news? Martha asked, concerned by Eliza's pallor. No, quite the opposite. She handed over the telegram. It seems I've inherited a fortune. Martha read quickly, her eyes widening. Good heavens, this changes everything, does it? Eliza wasn't sure how she felt about this unexpected development. I'm not certain what to do. Why, you must contact these attorneys at once. Use the telegraph office in town. They rode into Silver Creek immediately, Eliza's mind whirling with possibilities. At the telegraph office, she sent a brief message to the New York attorneys, confirming her identity and requesting details. Response might take a day or two, the operator warned. Line's been spotty with the spring storms. As they left the office, Eliza nearly collided with Adam, who was emerging from the general store with packages. Eliza, what are you doing in town? His smile faded as he noted her serious expression. What's wrong? She handed him the telegram. His face remained impassive as he read it, then looked up with questioning eyes. A fortune, huh? Guess I'm marrying a wealthy woman. Adam, we should discuss this privately, he interrupted, glancing at the curious onlookers gathering on the boardwalk. Let's go to Ma's. At the boarding house, Eliza explained what little she knew about Uncle James and his mining ventures. I haven't seen him since I was a child. Father always said he was a dreamer chasing rainbows. Looks like he caught one, Adam said quietly. What will you do now? The question hung between them, laden with unspoken concerns. Eliza reached for his hand. What do you mean, you're wealthy now? You could return to New York, reclaim your place in society. You don't need to teach in a one-room schoolhouse or marry a rancher with modest prospects. Adam Lawson, she said firmly, if you think money changes how I feel about you or Silver Creek, then you don't know me at all. It's not that simple, Eliza. Money changes things whether we want it to or not. Martha, who had been silently observing, spoke up. Son, give the girl some credit. She's not marrying you for security or lack of options. I know that, Ma, but no buts, Eliza interrupted. I'm marrying you tomorrow because I love you, because I want to build a life with you here in Silver Creek. Uncle James's money doesn't change that. Adam's expression softened slightly. You're sure, completely sure, she squeezed his hand. Though I do have one condition. What's that? I want to use some of the inheritance to help build a proper school for Silver Creek. The children deserve better than that drafty one-room building. A slow smile spread across Adam's face. That sounds like the woman I love. And perhaps, she continued, encouraged by his response, we could expand the ranch you've been dreaming about, make it a true partnership. The Diamond LC, he mused, has a nice ring to it. It does indeed. She leaned forward to kiss him softly. So you're not upset about the inheritance? Upset that my brilliant, beautiful fiancé is also wealthy? Hardly. His eyes twinkled with renewed humor. Though it might take some getting used to. We'll figure it out together, she promised, as we will everything else. Wedding day dawned with perfect blue skies and a gentle breeze that carried the scent of wildflowers across the prairie. The entire town of Silver Creek, it seemed, had turned out for the occasion. The ceremony was to be held on the land behind Adam and Eliza's new home, where a natural clearing among the cottonwoods formed a perfect outdoor chapel. In the upstairs bedroom, Martha helped Eliza into her wedding dress. The cream-colored gown, with its lace overlay and satin ribbons, transformed the schoolteacher into a vision that brought tears to Martha's eyes. You look absolutely beautiful, my dear, she said, adjusting the wreath of wildflowers that crowned Eliza's upswept hair. Adam won't be able to take his eyes off you. I'm so nervous, Eliza admitted. Not about marrying Adam, never that, but about everything changing so quickly. Change is the only constant in life, Martha replied wisely. What matters is facing it with the right person by your side. A knock at the door announced the arrival of Mayor Bennett, who had offered to escort Eliza down the aisle in the absence of her father. Ready, Miss Calloway, everyone's waiting. Ready, she confirmed, taking a deep breath. Outside, the guests had gathered in rows of chairs facing a flower-adorned arch where Pastor Williams and Adam waited. As Eliza appeared on Mayor Bennett's arm, a collective murmur of appreciation rose from the assembly. But Eliza saw only Adam, handsome in his new suit, his eyes fixed on her with such love that her nervousness evaporated like morning mist. The ceremony itself passed in a blur of emotion. They had written their own vows, simple declarations of love and commitment that brought tears to many eyes. When Adam slipped the wedding band onto her finger to join her engagement ring, his hands were steady, but his voice wavered with feeling. "With this ring, I thee wed. I promise to love you, protect you, and cherish you all the days of my life." "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Pastor Williams declared. "What God has joined together, let no man put asunder." Adam's kiss was tender and reverent, a seal on their promises that drew approving applause from their friends and neighbors. The celebration that followed lasted well into the evening. Tables laden with food and drink were set up near the house, and a platform had been constructed for dancing. Children ran playing among the trees, dogs lazed in the shade, and everywhere was laughter and goodwill. As twilight descended, lanterns were lit, casting a golden glow over the festivities. Adam led Eliza in their first dance as husband and wife, holding her close as they moved to the sweet strains of a waltz. "Happy, Mrs. Lawson," he murmured against her ear. "Completely, Mr. Lawson." She leaned back to look into his eyes. "I never imagined such happiness was possible." "Believe it," he said, echoing his words from that snowbound evening months ago. "This is just the beginning." Later, as the celebration continued around them, they slipped away to the front porch of their home. Sitting in their matching rocking chairs, they watched the stars appear one by one in the vast Montana sky. "You know," Adam said thoughtfully, "when I saw you that day at the stagecoach station, looking so lost and heartbroken, something told me you were special, that you belonged here." "I did belong here, I just didn't know it yet." She rested her head against his shoulder. "Thank you for seeing what I couldn't see. Thank you for staying, for giving Silver Creek and me a chance." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the distant sounds of music and laughter from their wedding celebration. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and decisions about their future with the unexpected inheritance. But tonight was for savoring the present, the culmination of a journey that had begun with rejection and tears but ended with acceptance and joy. "I love you, Adam Lawson," Eliza whispered, his arm tightened around her shoulders. "And I love you, Eliza Lawson, forever." In the years that followed, the people of Silver Creek would often point to the Lawsons as an example of true partnership. The inheritance did indeed fund a new schoolhouse, a proper two-story building with separate classrooms for different ages, and a library that became the pride of the community. Eliza continued teaching until the birth of their first child, a daughter they named Rose in tribute to the prairie flower that had symbolized their beginning. The Diamond LC Ranch flourished under their joint management, expanding to become one of the most successful operations in the territory. Adam's knowledge of cattle and horses combined with Eliza's head for business proved an unbeatable combination. Their home on the rise overlooking the creek grew along with their family. After Rose came James, then twins Mary and Martha, filling the house with laughter and activity. The rocking chairs on the front porch remained their special place, where they would sit in the evenings, watching their children play and the town of Silver Creek grow in the distance. Sometimes, on quiet nights when the children were asleep, Eliza would take out the small wooden box Adam had given her that first Christmas. Inside, alongside the book locket with its pressed prairie rose, she kept the telegram announcing her inheritance, the letter from Mr. Howard that had brought her to Silver Creek, and a small scrap of paper on which she'd once written her advertisement for the matrimonial news. "Looking at your treasures," Adam would ask, finding her with the box open on her lap. "Just remembering the path that led me here," she would reply. How something that seemed like failure was actually leading me exactly where I needed to be. And he would take her hand, the same hand where he had placed his ring and his promise so many years ago, and say, "I'm mighty glad that path led to Silver Creek, and to me." "So am I," Eliza would answer, her heart full. "So am I."